Supervillains may be, as Batman always tends to say, a cowardly and superstitious lot, but they know how to bring their A-game when the occasion calls for it. Naturally, given the DC universe is home to some of the most skilled and powerful heroes in the superhero genre, their antagonists have often had to rely on outwitting their opponents rather than engaging them head-to-head. Much as it is satisfying to see Batman take on a new god and win, watching Deathstroke match wits with Superman or Amanda Waller with the Justice League makes for a uniquely rewarding reading experience. You don't have to like either character, but you can appreciate the lengths they've gone to in order to achieve their goals, particularly when it leads to such devastating consequences. So, in the spirit of keeping your enemies close, I'm Ewan, this is Whatculture Comics, and here are the 8 smartest decisions in DC villain history. Number 8. The Al Ghuls get their heir, Batman and Son. Ever since the Al Ghuls were first introduced back during the Bronze Age of comics, their one goal has been to recruit the Dark Knight as an heir to the League of Assassins, and to marry Talia to continue the lineage. They've been vexed in their efforts for decades thanks to Batman's refusal to kill people and, engage with eco-terrorism, even while Bruce harbors feelings for Ra's daughter. So, concocting the ultimate plan, Talia decides to spend the night with Bruce, who doesn't take his mask off FYI, and uses his DNA to create a baby in an artificial womb. The League would then raise this child, waiting for the right moment to send it to the Cape Crusader to disrupt his crime-fighting efforts. As most will have probably gathered by now, this child was Damian Wayne. Grant Morrison and Andy Kubert's Batman and Son details the plot, and even shows Bruce's biological progeny actively disrupting the Bat family at the age of 10. He's young, bratish, and also a living weapon. Quite the quandary for the world's greatest detective. As far as plots go, it's actually pretty ingenious. If you can't get the heir you want, have a child, send him to disrupt the old heir, who's incidentally also the biggest threat to your own schemes, while also learning from him, and you're left, in theory, with the ideal candidate. Of course, Damian sees through his mother's machinations in the end. He's now a Robin, and Talia, well, she's seen better days. Number 7. Faking kryptonite bullets, Deathstroke. In his storied career, Deathstroke has taken on the likes of Batman, Green Arrow, the Teen Titans, and more private armies than you could possibly imagine. So just think what would happen if you outfitted this mercenary, a super soldier with an unrivaled moveset and tactical nous, with one of the most advanced super suits in DC's library. You get Christopher Priest's Deathstroke. Priest's stint on the character alongside artist Carlo Pagulayan has proven to be a surprising highlight of DC Rebirth, with one of its best moments involving a confrontation between Slade and the Man of Steel himself, Superman. Staring down the barrel of a big Kryptonian demigod, Slade uses all the tools in his arsenal to buy himself some time. He uses the Icon suit to repel Supes' attacks back at him, and, on the way to accomplishing his mission, chooses to douse his own bullets in neon green to emulate the look of kryptonite. Meanwhile, Slade causes enough destruction to keep the Man of Steel occupied, and would have likely succeeded had the big blue Boy Scout not recruited Wilson's son, Jericho, to decommission the Icon suit. Number 6. Making the Justice League question their own existence, JLU's Cadmus arc. Dwayne McDuffie did some of the best superhero-related things ever while involved with the DC animated universe, with Justice League Unlimited's Cadmus arc arguably his finest contribution to the animated realm. JLU was no stranger to straddling complex themes and narratives, but Cadmus was particularly ambitious. It asked startling questions surrounding the presence of the League, the admittedly terrifying implications of harboring an army of human weapons in an orbital satellite, and whether or not Batman is really as intimidating as he seems. Major spoilers ahead, by the way. So, what is Cadmus? They're a government organization headed up by Amanda Waller designed to counteract superhero influence. At first, they just seem like another shadowy Black Ops force out to get the League, but they're not all that bad. In fact, it's Waller who gives Batman a dressing down in her bathrobe while the Dark Knight tries to intimidate her into revealing Cadmus' secrets, forcing him and other figures in the League to reappraise their own value, and whether they may actually be doing more harm than good. Loyalties are strained and the League nearly falls apart. But the real kicker is that it's Lex Luthor who's been pulling the strings all along, running as president to effectively put Superman off balance and sow discord between the public, Cadmus, and the League. It's revealed that he's been sharing a body with Brainiac all along and was merely buying time to upload his and the Kryptonian AI's consciousness into an Amazo android, thus gaining immortality. It was a damn fine scheme. Just a shame the Flash had to go and ruin it all by discovering the Speed Force. Number 5. Executing the plan before explaining it to the heroes, Watchmen. It would be easy to kick off this entry by qualifying Watchmen as the amazing deconstruction of superhero comics that it is, but given you've heard it all before, there's pretty much no point. Instead, let's take a look at Ozymandias and how the climax where his scheme is revealed specifically exemplifies the genius of the book. Everyone who's read a comic or consumed any old piece of superhero media will be familiar with the tried and tested cliche of the villain revealing their master plan to the heroes, only for said heroes to use that information against the villain and thereby save the day. None ever seem to ponder the thought that their scheme could be foiled by their tenacious rivals, instead choosing to savor the moment by reveling in their own genius for just a second too long. Ozymandias makes no such error. When Night Owl and Rorschach go to confront him for the murder of the comedian, he reveals his grand design to his old teammates, with the presumption being he's yet to go through with his plan. And then he just goes ahead and says that he did it 35 minutes ago anyway. Doing so eliminates the risk he could be foiled, and he proves successful when Dr. Manhattan ties up the only loose end that is Rorschach. It's left open-ended as to whether or not Rorschach's journal exposes Ozymandias, at least when you ignore Doomsday Clock, but you struggle to find a more foolproof plan. Number 4. Dismantling Bruce Wayne's legacy. Heart of Hush. 6 years after the publication of Batman Hush, Paul Dini, Dustin Nguyen, and Derek Friedholz would prove everyone wrong by orchestrating Heart of Hush, a tie-in to Batman R.I.P. that saw the bandaged supervillain strike at Batman in a whole new way, by stealing Catwoman's heart. Not in a figurative sense, by the way. No, Hush literally takes Lena Kyle's heart and forces Batman into a wild chase in an attempt to get it back. Usually, that'd be that. Hush hates Bruce Wayne and would do anything to make him hurt. However, Elliot takes it all one step further by revealing he's reconstructed his entire face to look like Bruce Wayne. The end goal? To impersonate his rival and tarnish his family's name. Villains have tried time and time again to get underneath Batman's skin, but none had the inspiration, shall we say, to think this far ahead. The Bat family are able to curtail Elliot's schemes to a degree during Streets of Gotham, but in presenting a new quandary for them to deal with, all while the real Bruce was missing following Final Crisis, Hush's scheme will go down as one of DC's smartest. Number 3. Using Batman's paranoia against the JLA. Tower of Babel. Truth be told, there's not much Ra's al Ghul really has to do in Tower of Babel. In fact, it's really just Batman's own hubris that proved to be the most decisive asset to his old enemy in this Mark Waid helmed Justice League tale, but no villain had ever thought to use it before. Tower of Babel is famous for all the wrong reasons, and that it tends to get used by Bat fans as an excuse to wheel out the old Batman can beat anyone with enough prep time spiel, but it's still an interesting tale. Dig deeper, and it's actually one of the smartest JL books of the last 2 decades, as it sees the Dark Knight's own distrust for the Justice League exploited in the worst possible manner. Although the Dark Knight has never really been much of a team player, he says, fully aware of the fact he's led multiple teams and has his own family, but whatever, I'm beholden to the cliche in this particular instance, no one suspected he'd actively analysed and prepared countermeasures to incapacitate his comrades in the event they ever went rogue. Through some trickery, and as a means of keeping the League occupied while he executes his latest scheme to defend the Earth, Ra's steals Batman's League countermeasures and deploys them against his teammates, leading to all sorts of gruesome scenarios. The League of course prevail in the end, but their trust in Batman is completely shattered, forcing the Caped Crusader to abandon them by the arc's close. Number 2. Having a double agent on the team. Teen Titans: The Judas Contract. The Judas Contract is a seminal comic storyline that put the Teen Titans and Deathstroke on the map. It was well executed in terms of just how devastating it was, and it sent to light the conceit that the Titans' newest member, Terra, was actually a double agent working for Deathstroke, their arch nemesis. If any comic were to cement Slade as a relentless operator, then it would be Marv Wolfman and George Perez's. Terra was introduced as a new member for the team, but the intention was always to have her revealed as a villain, and for her to die shortly thereafter, but it wasn't her scheme. In many ways, she was just like the rest of the Titans, a victim of Deathstroke's own plan. Make no mistake, Slade Wilson abused this girl to get what he wanted, and it nearly paid off. Using intel gathered by Terra, Slade struck at each of the Titans when they were most vulnerable, using their secret identities against them to gain the upper hand. One by one, he catches all of them, bringing them to Hive, the Terminator's main employers. Introducing a double agent into the equation isn't exactly the most inventive idea out there, but it was deployed to great effect in the Titans' seminal outing. Deathstroke only fails due to the intervention of his wife and son, while Terra herself suffers a full-blown breakdown and kills herself with her own powers. Number 1. Overwhelming the Dark Knight. Batman Nightfall. Batman is a creature of habit. Even though he has a family and a dependable network of allies, you can almost always guarantee that he's going to do things the hard way, on his own, and that it'll have a detrimental effect at some point in the future. Were someone to realize that, it's safe to say they could cause a whole lot of damage. The first villain to truly understand the Dark Knight's frailties was Bane, and he didn't waste time in capitalizing on them either. Using all his resources, the Venom-enhanced supervillain overwhelms Gotham by causing a mass breakout at Arkham Asylum, thus unleashing all of Batman's most dangerous enemies all at once and causing an immense panic across the city. While trying to put everything back together, the Caped Crusader suffers a complete burnout, struggling to deal with the escalating violence caused by Bane's prison break. At this point in time, Bane also made the incredibly smart decision to look at the Dark Knight's jawline for more than just a second, and realizes that it belongs to none other than Bruce Wayne. With that knowledge in hand, and with Batman weakened by an unending crisis engulfing the city, Bane makes his way to Wayne Manor and beats the Dark Knight senseless, completing his plan by breaking him in two in one of the most iconic Batman moments of all time. It's a simple plan, but sometimes the most genius ones are. Batman could never hope to quell an entire city ravaged by his worst enemies all by himself, and only in understanding that is Bane able to exact his revenge, and cement himself as one of DC's most formidable antagonists. And that was our list. What do you think is the smartest decision a DC villain has ever made? Let us know in the comments below, and please be sure to give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and head back on over to whatculture.com/comics to find more stuff like this every day. As always, I've been Ewan, catch me on Twitter at EwanRuinsThings, and I'll see you next time. Bye!